guys? So I just wanted to cover the healer weak aura and kind of the timers that you're supposed to see. So this is what the weak aura is supposed to do. It's essentially just a combat timer. It'll show up like a little stopwatch. Okay, so we're going to set a pull timer. As soon as this pull timer hits 0, the combat timer is going to show up, and it's going to show up like a little stopwatch. Now the way I had my weak aura configured is that 8 seconds into the fight, it would tell me that I need to pop wings. So let's see what happens. You can see the timer's running. 8 seconds in, I get a reminder to cast Avenging Wrath. This is Wings and HA number 1. So what am I specifically supposed to be covering? I'm covering Dark Gateway. The reason I'm covering Dark Gateway is because the raid takes a burst of damage as soon as the ads spawn. And the reason I cast 10 seconds earlier than Dark Gateway is so that I can get a pre-ramp of 10 seconds with just Wings up, and then 20 seconds with Wings and HA up. So here comes Dark Gateway, burst of damage, and the cooldown's covered. Now, this is for me, right? Now I can actually still see all the other healers' CDs and when they're supposed to be used, but I only care about mine, right? Because I have all 4 weak auras. Y'all will only have just your weak aura, so you won't see everybody else's. I actually had already made another video, and none of the audio was working, so I already covered how to change the timings from my perspective, but I'm just going to go ahead and use somebody else. So let's use Steffling, for instance. So this is Steffling's weak aura. I'm going to go to her custom options, and since she only has 3 here, we'll work with hers. So what this does is it triggers off of a specific time in the fight, not a specific event. So this weak aura will work great on scripted fights where we are working with timers. This weak aura will not work on spell queue based mechanics. Think something like Zakul. Zakul had spell queuing issues, so you know that you needed to cover Manic Dread, but because of spell queuing, it might overlap with something else, and that's not necessarily timer based. You don't know for sure that's going to happen 5 minutes into the fight. It could be, at 4:58 or at 5:06. But either way, it's not scripted. Something like Queen's Court, where everything is exactly scripted. Again, this weak aura would work great on. That's an old raid. We won't ever do it again, but whatever. So, looking at Steffling's events, I can see at 137 seconds, I have her casting him 1. 271 seconds into the fight, I have her casting him 2. And at 343 seconds into the fight, I have her casting Salvation. Now, I want to adjust this similarly to how I did. What I'm asking for your help with and your feedback on healers is, do you want a notification before you're supposed to cast the ability, or right when you're supposed to cast the ability? For instance, on my Paladin, I adjusted my timers, so instead of 8 seconds into the fight, it's going to cast it 10 seconds into the fight. And it's only going to last for 5 seconds. So it's reminding me a little later, and the duration is a lot shorter. Actually, let's change that to 8 seconds. So now it'll stay on screen for 8 seconds, but I just know that as soon as I see this, I've got a couple of seconds of leeway to cast my abilities. Every other time I cast an ability, like Devotion Aura, for instance, my Paladin, and we'll see this in the logs here in a second, gets cast 30 seconds into the fight. Well, Devotion Aura only lasts for 8 or 6 seconds, like that. So I have it reminding me 4 seconds before it's supposed to actually be cast, and at the 30-second mark of the fight, I need to cast Devotion Aura. So, getting back to Steffling, and let's look at our log. Now, how can I see when the casts are happening exactly? Well, I'm going to click on the Healing tab. I'm going to scroll down, I'm just going to click on the Paladin. I'm going to click on the Cast tab. I'm going to click on Avenging Wrath. I'm going to click on Events and get rid of Reikadin. And here are all the major healing cooldowns. I don't care when Steffling casts Renew, for instance. I don't need to see that. I don't care when Yahtzee casts Rejuve, but I do care when Yahtzee casts Trank. I do care when Steph casts him, so that's all we're checking right now. So I can see that their priest casts Divine Hymn at 2 minutes and 32 seconds into the fight. So let's pull up a calculator and see how far into the fight that is. So we have 60 seconds in a minute times 2 minutes. It's 120 seconds. We're going to add 32 seconds because it's 2:32. It's 152 seconds into the fight. Okay. Now, this is the exact second he casts it. 152 seconds into the fight, he needs to cast Divine Hymn. So for Steffling, my question is, do you want like 5 seconds of warning before you need to cast him? Or do you want it to pop off right when you need to cast Divine Hymn? For me, I would do about 6-second lead time. So that would be 146 seconds into the fight. 146 seconds into the fight. And I don't know, about 8 seconds, it's going to remind you to cast Divine Hymn 1. That's what I would do. Now, if you don't want it to do that, and if you want it to tell you exactly at this second, just let me know and I can make that change. Or I'm sorry, at exactly 152 seconds. So let's go to intro 2. He casts it at 446. 4 times 60 is 240, plus 46 seconds. It's 286 seconds. Okay, so if we give you a 6-second lead time at 280 seconds into the fight, for 8 seconds, that's when you will be reminded to cast Divine Hymn 2. And again, if you want this different, just let me know. And for the final spell, Holy Word Salvation, he casts that at exactly 6 minutes into the fight. 6 times 6 is 360. If we give you about 6 seconds of lead time, that's 354. So 354 seconds into the fight. And we'll show it for 8 seconds. Okay, now that's what I would do, just based off of testing the weak aura last night and the timers that I have right now. I'm going to tell you, they are going to tell you to cast your ability like 18 seconds before you need to, and that might not be good because then Yahtzee is going to end up tranking and we're going to miss a Dark Gateway. So this is why I'm asking, how do you want to see the weak aura? Do you want it to pop up right when you need to cast your ability, or do you want it something like what I had, which is a couple of seconds into the fight, you get a reminder, and then you kind of have an internal clock that ticks that you know when to cast your wings. So like I kind of knew that I needed to hold it until this, because I wasn't watching the cooldown timer, I was watching Dark Gateway. Okay, so might be a little confusing. I hope it's not. I made another video, but again, I wasn't recording audio, so it went into a little bit more detail. But and as you can see, I've got all the weak auras, so I'm even seeing that Yahtzee should cast Tree of Life here and all this stuff. But either way, y'all won't see that. Don't worry about that. But anyways, thanks guys. Let me know if you have any questions, okay?